You wake up in complete silence. You enjoy the smell that hits your nostrils as you stir to consciousness. Your eyes become accustomed to the pitch darkness of your small room as you peer around, fatigue still gripping you. But then you realize, as you fully come to your senses, that this has happened 3 times tonight. Hell, you think to yourself, it's happened 36 times a week, and a further 36 a month. You feel foolish, idiotic, impotent. Why can't you ever sleep? Your mind is forever going, from a low hum to a chaotic, noise-ridden pulse of energy. You suppose it might be the scent. It can't be, though, can it? You know that the smell makes you happy, and you know that what makes you happy should make your mind happy, right? But it doesn't. And you find that the more you smell, the more your mind hurts, and the less sleep you get. And the less sleep you get, the more of the smell you need. Perhaps eternal slumber would help you. The humming in your head is no longer just in your head. It's real now. It's in the closet across from you. A faint buzzing, forever present. You can no longer block it out. Louder and louder, permeating your eardrums. A death knell to your senses. You can no longer take it. You stand up, agitated. The closet is looming in the darkness, the bane of your existence. You step forward and wrench those doors open. The buzzing hits an all-time high. As flies exit in all directions, you cover your face from the pests. Crimson red and rot, covered in white plastic, are strewn about the closet floor. And the smell, the smell. That glorious, ever-present smell invades the senses. You need more. The smell demands more. The intoxicating rot, mind-numbing stench, mind-focused, mission set. And so, you shower, you dress, you style, and you sharpen. You must create more. The stench calls, corrupts, begs. Oh, why couldn't you just sleep? Should you find yourself driving during the small hours of the morning, long before the sun shows its face, you should be advised to, at all costs, avoid Route 963. It has no home, so unfortunately, you can't avoid it just by simply living in the right place. It just kind of pops up. It welcomes weary travelers who wouldn't call it a night and buy a room. If you see it, do not take it. Even if curiosity strikes up the thought, it's not worth it. And if for some reason you make the wrong turn, well, you're screwed. Hope and pray you have enough gas to last you a while. If you drive an electric, the same holds true for the vehicle's charge. You're going to need it. You'll quickly notice that Route 963 has no exits, nor pull-offs, nor rest stops, nor gas stations, nor, well, anything. That is because Route 963 is different. Unlike your typical highways, Route 963 is not a means to an end, but rather an end in itself. It has nowhere to take you, except to take you. If it was playing previously, your radio will likely pick up a new frequency, a station that plays loud music in an unfamiliar language. Feel free to turn it off, though it won't do you any good. It should be noted at this point that you'll likely begin to panic. Do not stop your vehicle. Do not turn the vehicle around. Do not look in the rear view mirror. Should you do any of these, the results may vary. If you stop and attempt to go back the way you came, you'll be met with a harsh realization. There is no way back. Attempt to drive into the blackness that follows you and let the spider wrap you in its web. That's exactly what Route 963 wanted in the first place. If the temptation becomes too difficult to bear, remove the rear view mirror entirely. If, however, you do look into the rear view, you'll be met with one of two sights. You may see nothing but blackness. Eventually, it will find you. Or you may see a dim set of headlights following you. In either event, keep driving. Just hope and pray you don't run out of gas. At least, for a little while. The dark night carried a storm closer to the small home, but it still lurked far off in the distance. The rumbling of the thunder was unaccompanied by lightning, or even moonlight, making the night all the more dark in nature. The rain had yet to come, but there was still a slight, rhythmic tapping on the young girl's window. Hannah peeked her head out from beneath the covers and glanced at the window, to see nothing within its frame. She glanced at her pink nightlight briefly before covering her head beneath the thick covers of safety. Nighttime was especially dark for poor Hannah, especially since the incident between her parents shouting match a couple nights ago. She didn't understand how or why, but she was now with only her mother, staying at Grandpa's cabin out in the woods, without Daddy. The cabin and the surrounding woods were all new to her. She enjoyed the colorful forest during the day, but nighttime yielded shadows and sounds that awakened the most terrifying of dreams. Thankfully for young Hannah, though, she had made a friend. An old, secret friend. A friend that would come by every evening and calm her by singing lovely lullabies that were both unfamiliar and terribly sweet. The tapping returned, and again, Hannah found the strength to glance at her window, only to see an old and withered hand softly tapping the window with a long fingernail. Hannah smiled briefly as the window frame was filled with a hooded figure. The only thing that Hannah could see under the hood was a long, warty nose and brown teeth that were scattered across the gummy smile of a woman. The woman began to sing songs of dark dreams and distant horrors that were yet to arrive, but as for now, she was safe. Little did Hannah know, safe was a relative word. A word that would only matter as long as she kept the window closed. The old woman, after singing a dark tune or two that did not quite put Hannah to sleep, beckoned the young girl over.
You don't even need to open it, dear. Just unlock it. I can do the rest.
Hannah, despite being young and naive, knew better. Her father had taught her the concept of stranger danger. She was never allowed to open the front door for anyone she didn't know, but he never did say anything about a window. The old woman seemed to be getting desperate, and she offered Hannah a view of a small, velvety bag with a surprise inside. The old woman reached into the bag and pulled out what looked like a strange white stone with random edges.
I have many of these inside this bag, my dear, and they can all be yours. Just unlock your window. I just want to come in and say hello to Mommy. I'm a friend of hers.
Hannah's young ignorance had met its match. The old woman was Mommy's friend, or so she said. She wasn't a stranger anymore, and it would be rude to keep Mommy's friend waiting outside in the dark storm. Hannah got up and slowly pushed the dresser under her window. With some effort, she climbed on top and undid the latch. As soon as she heard the click, Hannah quickly raced back to her bed and hid under the covers.
That's a good girl,
the old woman hissed as the window slowly slid open. Hannah's breathing began to overwhelm her as she hid under the covers. The old woman climbed in through the window, placed the velvet bag on her dresser, and crawled over to her door to try to open it. The door was locked from the outside.
Mommy doesn't want us to leave,
Hannah squeaked from beneath the covers.
Don't worry, dear. I'm just going to go say hi and I'll be right back.
The old woman began slamming her frail body against the door repeatedly. Not long after, they heard footsteps come to the door outside. The frame began to splinter as they both heard a scream coming from Mommy. The door finally gave way and burst open, and Hannah quickly began to cry as she heard Mommy not greeting her friend from the woods, but rather screaming in terror as they crashed to the floor. The screams continued for a long time, and a loud banging could be heard coming from the hallway, making the floor vibrate. The screaming eventually dwindled, but the banging continued. Well, the screaming from Mommy dwindled at least. Mommy's friend, who Hannah now realized was not her friend, could be heard grunting as if she was doing something laborious. The banging eventually stopped, and to Hannah's horror, the old woman came crawling back into her room, next to her bed.
I've got more for your collection, my dear,
the old woman said, as she placed the white objects that were still wet with dark liquid into the bag. Then she sat next to her bed and sung yet another song of some wretched disease that would infect the living and cause them to rot. Under her guise, Hannah slowly drifted off to sleep. But that sleep did not last long. She was awakened not much later to strange men with guns coming into her cabin and eventually into her room. They all had badges, much like the police, but they didn't dress like police. Daddy was with these men, and he hugged her when he saw that she was still chained to her bed and unharmed. Mommy was nowhere to be seen. You'd think that Mommy and Daddy would want to be together now, but they weren't. In fact, Hannah would never see Mommy ever again. But she was so excited to finally see her father after so long that she gave him a gift. The same gift that the old woman had given her the night before. She was disappointed when Daddy had to give the bag to the police people, since apparently some of the white stones belonged to Mommy. Hannah had to tell them about her friend that came and helped her get found. Without her, Hannah would still be in the woods without Daddy, they said. In some bizarre way, Hannah thought that the strange woman was, in fact, a friend after all. When Greg imagined the coming of the zombie apocalypse, which he figured only was a matter of time, he saw it as a chance to be the hero he so wished to be. He'd already collected all the tools and provisions he'd require, researched and learned all the survival skills he'd need to traverse the hardships the broken world would throw at him, and even practiced his machete moves on various melons and gourds until he had no doubt that he could put the undead down swiftly. He'd even put together an outfit that was practical and, in his own words, looked so damn cool. He reveled in the idea of people looking to him for answers and protection. The picture in his head was glorious. He envisioned himself standing on the hood of a car as blood dripped off his machete. A scantily clad, attractive young woman was clinging to his side, as dozens of vanquished undead laid out before him in crumpled heaps. Men twice his size would come to him for help, ushering the frightened, lost and unwashed into a new era. He'd protect the weak and innocent, while stilling the hearts of evil, selfish men who sought to set themselves up as tyrants in the new world. Yep, Greg was sure that all he needed to demonstrate his worth to the world was for most of the human population to die off and turn into slow, shambling zombies. Of course, visions of heroism were far from his thoughts when he was admitted to the hospital 2 days ago with a virulent new strain of flu that was sweeping the nation. Actually, all of Greg's thoughts and vital signs flatlined about 30 minutes ago. Greg's silly, unrealistic dreams of becoming a hero were dashed, but his visions of the world to come were not too far off the mark. His eyes shot open as he sat up in bed and uttered a pretty damn good guttural impression of a pirate. A shocked orderly who was unzipping a body bag rushed to his side, but he grabbed the young man and took a big chunk out of his arm. As he pulled the screaming orderly onto the bed and continued to snack on him, screaming broke out in another part of the hospital ward. He lost interest in the orderly once the twitching stopped, and headed into the hall to chase down one of the many people running by his room. 2 more like-minded patients shuffled by as he stepped into the hall. He staggered into formation with them, and so began dead Greg's new life as a flesh-hungry corpse. Ain't destiny a bitch? Oh, you haven't forgotten me already, have you? Surely it hasn't been that long since my last visit. I'm still buried away in there, in the deep recesses of your mind. Surprised to see me? Oh, come on. Not even a smile. I've seen that look before. Don't even think about it. One wrong move, one single insolent thought, and I will sever your connection to this mortal coil permanently. And then you will have the privilege of serving me in a much more direct manner. You served me so perfectly last time that I just couldn't help coming to pay you one last visit. You were not the first, nor the last, but your service is truly second to none, and I, of course, deserve nothing but the best. You see, the time has come. My followers have become restless. Some would call them impatient. I would call them eager to please. Day after day they worship me. They perform my tasks, provide me the stepping stones that I desire to achieve my ultimate goal. They scream out my name with righteousness in their hearts. And oh, how righteous they are. Well, depending on your point of view, of course. Don't be alarmed. There's no punishment for laughter in my presence. In fact, I encourage it. I hope you enjoy every moment of what is about to come. Look deeper into yourself, my child. We are similar in certain ways, you and I. We both wish to break the shackles that bind us to the living hell that we find ourselves residing in. Relax, breathe deeply, struggle not, and remember that I give no being the kindness of asking twice. It would be a stain on my reputation. Embrace the freedom that is yet to come. It is so close. You can almost hear the cries of those resenting their foolishness, cursing their ignorance to my otherworldly influence on this insignificant blemish that you dare to call yourself a world. You will feel the ecstasy surging through you as you tear this vile planet into atoms in my name. The non-believers will curse me, damn me as they have damned themselves. There will be no place for them in my new plane of existence, but you, my darling, will never be forgotten. Say my name. You know it well. Hush now, my child. It is finally beginning. Prepare yourself, for it shall all be over in an instant, and then you may rest for eternity. Go now. Do as I command. You'll be seeing me again. Ever so shortly. As always, a huge, huge thank you to all of my poltergeists. Baby Yoda, Calderin, Cheryl Meredith, Evan Diaz, Gary, Imugi, Nathan Konerk, and Spirit Father. Your contributions are so appreciated, and thank you from the very bottom of my heart.